morals decline, and good men do nothing, evil flourishes. A society unwilling to learn from the past is doomed. We must never forget our history. We must never lower our guard.
Hoover was a very important character and controversial character, and so it's important to kind of get it somewhat accurate.
I always looked at him as a man that was shrouded in great mystery, but he was this iconic bulldog American figure that was the face of the FBI, the great protector in our country. But obviously, he did some pretty deplorable things professionally.
I was actually more familiar with his sort of nefarious reputation. Like, there were stories that were sort of bounced around the family about him, you know, hating my great-grandfather and, like, going through his trash and having agents follow him, and he was convinced he was a spy, like, all those kinds of things. So I was familiar with that stuff more so than I was how patriotic he was, for example, or anything like that. So when I read the script, instead of being like, I'm so surprised he did all these things, it was more like, wow, it's true. Interesting.
You will rise to be the most powerful man in the country.
It is my belief that when a man becomes a part of this bureau, he must so conduct himself as to eliminate even the slightest possibility of criticism as to his conduct.
At 22 years of age, to create the Bureau of Investigation, later to become the Federal Bureau of Investigation, to create that and an organization that wasn't even a police force, that they weren't even allowed to carry guns or anything. They were just an investigation group, and build it into what it is today. Is pretty phenomenal.
Imagine if every citizen in this country were uniquely identifiable by the pattern on their fingers. Imagine how quickly we could find them if they committed a crime.
Do you remember that file we created on his wife?
Mrs. Roosevelt.
Will you make a copy for me, please?
Is that legal?
Sometimes you need to bend the rules a little in order to keep your country safe.
J. Edgar Hoover held his job paramount and his position of power paramount over everything, and so did Clyde Tolson and Helen Gandy. Their job was their first priority, so therefore they never allowed themselves to have a family or allowed themselves to love another individual.
Mr. Tolson, I need someone who I can trust. I want you to be my #2 man. You understand? I need you.
We start to put the pieces together. I think that, you know, if you talk to one school of thought, these men were partners and professionals and never had any kind of homosexual relationship whatsoever. Others would argue vehemently the opposite.
And live together and are very, I mean, yeah, it's like where there's smoke, there's fire. Yes, all of it is speculation, but it's well-informed speculation.
What is undeniable, these two men worked together for, you know, over 4 or 5 decades. They vacationed together, they spent every moment together, and they were connected in so many different levels that our story is about their inability to express that any kind of emotion towards each other, even if it was homosexual. They weren't allowed to do that.
Please leave the transcripts here with me.
Feel free and share them with your brother, Mr. Kennedy. Let him know that I have a copy of my own.
The president is afraid.
All the admiration in the world can't fill the spot where love goes.
We are the sinners, Edgar. We tolerated lawlessness in the land until it grew to diabolical proportions. The blood is on your hands, Edgar.
What are your exact qualifications for your position of leadership in this bureau?
My qualifications, sir? I don't know who I can trust anymore.
I see right through you. You're a scared, heartless, horrible little man.
Don't wilt like a little flower. Be strong.
Yes, Mother. It's time this generation learned the difference between villain and hero. Even great men can be corrupted.
Who's your daddy?
It's no good.